All right. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for braving the second rescheduling of the open source hardware group show and tell. We skipped last week because of our snowstorm, which didn't really happen. But thank you for making it for today. Today I'm going to thank you for Techlahoma for sponsoring us, and Starspace for providing the actual venue. They do a lot of good work for Oklahoma City, and it'd be good to support them in any way you feel comfortable with. Today I'm going to talk about a Raspberry Pi as a cheap video display unit. This is basically queued up and set up for doing video display for home, or like home movies, or a picture slideshow, or really whatever you want to have it do. It's basically set up to plug it in, turn it on, and it's all it does. It can do a lot more than that, and I may add on to it at a later date, but for right now, all it does is you plug it in, and actually I got it set up so that if you plug in a USB stick, it'll actually copy a new video and display that. So it's basically kind of like a headless, do-it-yourself video TV frame. So what you basically do is, let's say you've got like an old 780 or a 720p TV that's laying around that you don't have, it's too small. It still works great, but it's too small for watching news on, and it's too nice to like throw away, and it's just laying around. Well, what you can do is you can take a Raspberry Pi, load in some Python scripts, load in Omics player, and then set up the script to auto run on boot, and then you got yourself a video player essentially for home pictures and things like that. So the way I have it currently set up is that all you do is you plug it in, it goes through the boot cycle, and in this case I've got it set up to run something called, there's the Raspberry Pi boot screen. In this case, I actually have it to, well, this will be interesting. In this case, I have it to like automatically start playing. There it goes. So really fast to boot, no issues with like a whole bunch of stuff. And right now it's just playing a video. So I can actually do videos. So this is Big Buck Bunny from the Blender Institute. They actually do like a series of videos for to showcase their technology. This is a couple of years old, but it's also Creative Commons and free to use. So it's good. It's my favorite like example piece to make sure this thing works. So if you want to get it to switch video, what you do is you take a USB stick like so, plug it in like so, and you hope that the demo gods are kind, and you plug it in. It'll basically do its thing. Okay, and that's one of the videos I picked up last time. So you see what basically I have on here is I have just a series of videos. It copies each of those videos to the disk, and these are basically a series of like 30-second long videos. And so if you wanted to change videos, you just pop this out. You go to your computer, you upload a new video, and then that's all it is to it. And so it's just going to kind of run in the background for a little bit. I put up like I think 3 different videos. Okay. Yeah, so basically it just kind of goes through videos on a semi-regular pace. So I'm going to cut this off. I'll show you how it actually works. Okay. So, let me put this over here. It's laggy. What is going on? Over here, laggy over here. Okay, that's not gonna work. Okay, well, it's less laggy on my end at least. Okay, so what I have here is let me just open up the install script. I actually ended up creating an install script with this to make it easier to reconfigure and redo each time. A lot of this is commented out, but I'll kind of make the big parts. The main parts is right here. I created a video folder. I think Raspberry Pi actually comes with a video folder now, so it's not as big of a deal. But I think in one of the older iterations, there was no video folder in it. So I just created kind of a default video directory to dump all the video to. Then what's going on here is that I've created in I basically created a directory for all the files to live. And it just gives them permission to write to those locations. And the interesting thing here is the 80pi. The add.py is actually the Python script that actually does what? Oh, sorry. Oh, so booming. So the 80pi is actually what actually does all the heavy lifting. I think I did a version of this at one point that used all Bash script, but getting things like automatically copying in new files was too time intensive and it didn't work very well. So it's using Python for all the underlying heavy lifting. I've got a shell script. This is I copy over the shell script, the init, and then I basically set up the update RC to have it automatically start up. This is basically how it does the automatic startup script. And then I do the same thing with an override. I think the override script is actually because I had problems with some of the system deconfigurations. And then the interesting stuff is that the USB mount is actually what automatically allows me to mount the USB and then copy files over. And then OMX player is the actual player for playing the Raspberry Pi files itself. And I've got some other stuff in here, making sure I got the latest version of Python and making sure that I can do I/O, GPIO. So one iteration of this uses LEDs to kind of give you a status indicator of what it's actually doing, although I didn't show that. The next part about this is the Python script. And what the Python script does is it basically, this does a couple other things that we're not showing off, but basically the big thing is this add update videos. And what this does is it searches for MP4 files inside the path. In this case, it's the USB 0 USB 0. That's one of the reasons why I use the USB mon tool or the USB mon package, because it's a good job of keeping all the naming conventions constant. And then I used so all basically it does is it searches for all the MP4 files in that folder, and then it looks for all the USB files in the the media folder, which is here, and then it just does a compare of the two, and then it adds, and then it just copies over. This is a straight copy of over all the things that aren't in the original folder. So it's a pretty simple. I mean, it's a really simple script. It basically just it basically does two folder comparisons and says, okay, well, this folder is there. If so, then copy it over. If not, then delete it. And then it does that's the other part here. So it basically checks for updated videos. It does the same thing again, where it checks to see if the videos are present, and then it searches for the name list and then deletes the ones that are not there. Especially if they have also, and this is also interesting, I made sure that if you change the size of the folder, it just basically searches for it based on size. Does a comparison based on size as well. So sometimes, like, let's say you have like movie number 1 or family video number 1, and you update it or change it, it will actually copy over the file as long as the name or the file size is different. And then it goes in. This is the actual play loop, the endless play loop. So in this case, it actually will. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. This screen here is where it basically does all the actually interesting stuff. What it does is it actually pops open Omex Player and does a HDMI file read, and actually reads in it pipes in the information. Well, actually, this is for piping out for debugging purposes right here. That's why the STD error pipe is all piped out. And so what it basically does is it basically picks a file from the media folder, one of the MP4 files, and just plays it. And so this is how you get your endlessly running MP4 files. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions? So, I mean, it looks pretty simple. I mean, basically, there's a lot in the back end, but I mean, all it basically does was to get me a device where I plug in a USB stick with files and it plays them endlessly, which sounds like really simple and dumb, but it required like 4 applications, a shell script, a whole bunch of tweaking in the back end. But at the end of the day, you get like this really neat self-contained package that you just plug in things and it does things. And the nice thing is that because I've got a Raspberry Pi and like Python running the show, the options are basically endless. Like if I wanted to have like it to control like something from the GPIO lines, you could like have it where it plays a certain video file, and like let's say you got one of the big bass fish, you could basically plug this into that, and so whenever like you play a certain video file, it could like move the fish along. You could have it set up. You can actually set up triggers so that you can have it play. The neat thing about having a Python scripted video player is that you can have it queue different video tracks from input. So let's say you wanted to like set up a video wall, and you can actually like have a giant play, pause, restart, and then you can actually have it trigger other things too. So.
But if you have it play different videos based on time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got a Python script, so you can actually write another routine that sets it up to play like a morning video if you wanted, or evening video. And I mean, because the way it's set up is it's a little complicated, but it's not like it's basically just Python shell scripting and Bash scripts. So like it's not super complex. There's no like web server involved. There's no like installing. Like a heavy-duty like front-end video player. Everything's open source, and there's a lot of functionality for it. So, all right, thank you.